Thank you for coming. Just a little bit of background information for those of you who don't know. District Parent Council is a volunteer group that is open to the public, and it is comprised of active volunteers from each of our school's parent groups. We are pleased to be able to sponsor this evening to help our school board candidates connect with the public. This year we have 4 candidates running for 2 open seats. We have incumbent Mary Bussey, Larry Siebert, David Kims, and Margaret Larussa. Thank you all for coming. Welcome. We would like to take a quick minute to review the format for this evening. We have asked each candidate to come prepared with an opening statement and a closing statement. Each candidate will have up to 3 minutes to introduce themselves to us tonight. Once introductions are done, we will then ask each candidate a series of questions that have been compiled by the District Parent Council. Please note the candidates have no prior knowledge of these questions. Each candidate will be asked the same question and will have up to 2 minutes to respond to each question asked. In the spirit of fairness, each candidate will have a chance to go first this evening when answering a question, and each candidate will also have a chance to answer a question last. We ask that our candidates firmly stick to the time limit when answering each question. We have a timekeeper in front who will let the candidates know when they have reached the 1-minute mark, the 30-second mark, and when time has expired. The candidates will then have the opportunity to field questions from members of our audience. As you came in, there were 3x5 cards that were being handed out. If you did not receive one, please raise your hand. Somebody will bring one to you. DPC members are available to collect them. We just ask that your concern be formatted as a question, not as a statement, and that it is not personal in nature directed towards any particular candidate. We'll review the questions to make sure that we don't have duplicates, and we will get to as many questions as time allows. So let's begin. Candidate number 1, Mary, if you have an opening statement, the floor is yours.
Oh, you can hear me? Oh, a little closer. Can you hear me? Okay. I'd like to thank DPC for hosting this tonight. I appreciate this. My name is Mary Bussey. I'm a lifelong resident of West Seneca. My husband Donald and I have raised our 3 children, Captain Donald Bussey, Jr., Lynn, and Amy in the West Seneca School District, and all 5 of us graduated from West Seneca East Side of town. I'm a proud grandma of 6 grandchildren, 2 7-year-olds, a 4-year-old, a 2-year-old, a 10-month-old, and an 8-month-old. And all 6 will be going through West Seneca schools. I'm very blessed to have them all live within short distance of me, okay? Which is easy because they can ride their bikes to my house or whatever, and their little motorized cars. 2 of them are at Clinton Elementary, one's in 1st grade and one is in 2nd. I'm very active in the community. I'm a life member of East Seneca Ladies Auxiliary for the fire company. I'm the vice president of Western New York Federal Credit Union. I'm a member of West Seneca Women's Committee. I'm a member of Queen of Heaven Parish. I sit on numerous educational committees. I'm currently on the Board of Education, and I'm also on the Erie 1 BOCES Board of Education. My goal is to provide all students with educational tools and opportunities to be able to pursue their dreams. We, as educational role models, need to inspire our children to be creative, explore, set goals, and have the ability and skills to be successful. I am a very strong advocate in the careers, technical, and vocational training. That could be because I'm also on the BOCES board. There is a real need in our country for skilled labor. Working with our students, we can give them the foundation and the career paths to be successful. I believe we as a district are moving forward with providing students with real-world experiences. I will continue to be fiscally sound decisions. My passion for education, public education, underlined, is why I am asking for your support. Thank you.
Larry.
Good evening. I'd like to thank the DPC too also. I appreciate this opportunity to address you. You are the eyes and the ears of this district. As a proud father, the most important thing I do is I'm a dad. My 2 children are in 7th and in 4th grade. of joy and pleasure out of the West Seneca School District. I became concerned, and I have now become involved into the district. I am also a father. I am involved with the West Seneca Chamber of Commerce. I am an advocate with the SPCA and through work with Delta Sonic. I'm involved with multiple charities and groups, Friends of the Night. My goal is to be the voice of the children. We have some tendencies in this district that need to be looked at, discussed. Last year, there was a lot of words of transparency. There was a lot of words that, unfortunately, people didn't understand that transparency doesn't always mean that you can talk about everything. Being in executive session means some things cannot come out. That was hard to learn in some of the things that what goes on and how I hear things, but I also know that things need to be done correctly for this district. I can tell you right now, the one thing that really strikes me is that right now, 1 out of 6 children do not graduate in this district. Our dropout rate right now is at 88% over a 3-year grad rate. I want you to look into that. I have numbers, I have things. What I want to be able to do is to move this district forward with a vision and a plan. Thank you.
David.
Hello, my name is Dave Kims. First 28 years of my life was spent in Pennsylvania. 1976, I accepted a job in warehousing and warehouse management with Tops Markets. Moved my wife and infant son to West Seneca. We settled on West Seneca because everyone said their schools were very good. Now, we came up here in August of '76 from an area in Pennsylvania that sent all the students home if they even thought it may snow. So when the blizzard hit, needless to say, we thought we may have made the wrong decision. But the years passed, the people were very nice, the job was good, and our son graduated from West Senior. I ended up working there until 2010. As you get older, you realize more and more that our students are our future. They deserve a great education in order to be prepared for the challenges they will face as they enter adulthood. I also realize that the taxpayers deserve a better education on where and how their dollars are spent. I think the board could do a much better job of that. I think the goal of the board should be to over-communicate, not just about the good things happening, but also the problems and challenges that we are facing. To put lots of information out on the website and at meetings, and let the parents and taxpayers sort through whatever they want, to become as involved as they want. I think the best way to do this is to put a couple new faces on the board in order to take it in a new and better direction. Thank you.
Thank you. And Margaret.
Thank you and good evening. My name is Margaret Larussa. I've been a community member and a taxpayer for 43 years. I am an alumnus of West Seneca West Senior High School, class of '81, yay, and I was class president for all 4 years. I am the proud mother of 3 children who are all a product of the West Seneca School District. My daughter Christina graduated in 2017. My son Christopher, who is sitting back there, is graduating this year. And my daughter Rachel is an up-and-coming freshman next year. I have my master's degree and have been employed in the banking industry as a professional for 30 years. As a team member, I have supported many multi-million-dollar financial systems. I am running for a seat on the Board of Education because I believe that our children are the most important assets. I am very passionate about ensuring that the decisions that are made are in their best interest for all our children. I believe in a fair and appropriate public education. I am an advocate that all children learn differently. And we should expunge the myth that a one-size-fits-all education is appropriate. It takes a community to raise a child. We all are stakeholders in the future of our children. We need to ensure that we stand by the district's mission statement, which reads, "Our mission is to produce diversified educational programs which will produce literate, caring, ethical, responsible, and productive citizens who are capable of change." Preparing our students for the ever-changing world that they are going to face after graduation has to be a priority. As a school board, we need to work cohesively in partnership with each other, with other organizations, time up? Thank you. And the community to make decisions that are the best, I'm going to rattle on, and the best that are in the best interests of the children. I am running as an independent. I am open, honest, and I feel that it would be a privilege to serve you as your board member. I have flyers at my table if anyone is interested in taking one to review my goals and what my platform is. Thank you very much, and I appreciate your time.
Thank you. Okay, let's get right to the questions. We'll start with Mary for the first question. Being a school board trustee is a volunteer commitment. Could you please tell us about what volunteer work you have participated in, past or present, within the community or the schools? What was your role, and how do you feel that you made a difference? And as you're a current board member, please exclude your board service.
Okay. Can you hear me? Okay. Everyone can hear me? Well, I can start with my school, not as school board, but on committees. Okay, I sit on a NIFIC committee, which is where we bring business and education together. I've been on that committee probably about 10 years now. We set goals for our students. That is how we get like the P-TECH programs. Our academies are involved. Colleen Chrisman sits on that committee with us. And that is all over. We have people from Niagara, Erie County that also sit on that board, okay? Let me see. Educationally, I'm a delegate for Erie County School Boards Association. I also chair their nominating committee. I was past president for 2.5 years, and I served on various roles, treasurer, secretary, et cetera, on that. I'm still very involved. I've been involved for 21 years with, oh, I gotta hurry up.
No,
Okay.
1 minute, you're
okay.
okay. 1 minute.
I'm sorry. All right, community, I sit on other.
If you run over, we'll cut you off. It's
Okay.
Keep talking.
Community, I was past president for 8 years at East Seneca Ladies Auxiliary. I still am very involved in that. Women's Committee, I'm very involved in that. I chaired quite a few. I chaired the luncheon for 2 years, which that raises money for non-for-profit and scholarship money. Okay. All right. I also worked at West Seneca. I'm retired from West Seneca Developmental Center, where I worked for 43 years with the most precious group of individuals, and I miss my job. Unbelievable. I'm a retiree of CSCA. I'm trying to think of all the stuff I've done. I sit on the board for Western New York Federal Credit Union. I've been on that board, and I'm the vice president for 26 years. All right. Sorry. I'm done.
Same question, Larry. And candidates, if at any time you need a question repeated, please ask.
Thank you. Right now, I sit on the board for the West Seneca Chamber of Commerce. I sit on the board for the American Legion and the American Legion Baseball. I am also vice president of North Tonawanda Baseball, Babe Ruth. I also involved with Friends of the Night, as in for the community, anything that volunteer work for the schools, spaghetti dinners for the kids, things that I can help out. I try to be more actively involved with things that what my children bring to me home from informational flyers. I find that very interesting in being able to get more involved in finding different things at different schools. We helped out at the Winchester one for 2 months ago. I try to help out as much as I can in different areas. Serving as a member with Delta Sonic on the SPCA committee is very important to me and my family. And that's it. Thank you.
Okay, David.
Well, my resume is not very long in this area. I spend my time going to town board meetings, school board meetings, planning board meetings, zoning board meetings. I really don't have any organizations that I belong to. That's it.
Okay, thank you. And Margaret?
Yes, thank you for that question. You know, I'm a mother of 3 children, and therefore that has taken a lot of my time. Now, I consider that my biggest advocate because I have been an advocate for my children throughout the school system since they have been in preschool all the way through, you know, the senior high school. So that is my prized possession. They're all accomplished. My son's going to be a surgeon, my daughter's going to be a lawyer, and my other daughter plans to be a judge. So I think we've done extremely well with advocating for them and their education. My other volunteer work includes working for the senior citizens on Main Street, Seneca Street. I do a lot of volunteer work through my children. We've done extra community service, not only for the town of West Seneca, for the town of Cheektowaga. They've won numerous awards, and I have been the wind beneath their wings. So I work for our church, tirelessly feeding the homeless. We also work for providing for the Vietnam veterans through the church. And I also am a part of the Women's Philoptochos Committee. We are Greek Orthodox, and we provide, it's a charitable organization that we provide for the less fortunate. Thank you for the answer, or the question.
Okay, next question, we will start with Larry. There has been much discussion about improving communication, improving visibility, and doing a better job of representing all stakeholder interests in the decision-making process. If elected to the school board, what plans would you implement to increase communication and improve visibility?
Well, as we ran in last year, the communication has gotten better. It has gotten to the point where it's more open forum and workshops are being done. For my communication would be in more of a public forum. I believe in bringing things to the forefront. I believe in communicating as a group. A good idea is a good idea. It doesn't matter what side of the fence you're on. The common goal should become to get to the right answer. Visibility, I believe that our websites, our district's communication is getting up to speed, but could be better. I think all communication could be done a little bit more in email form, which we're starting to see. Visibility, I think being out into the community and offering to be approachable, to bring your concerns and your ideas. That's what I have. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. David, same question.
I believe, like I said in my opening statement, the communications need to improve. We have to, and the easiest way to do that is have committees where parents, taxpayers can work on them to look at the problems that we're facing, to do some planning towards what we're going to do in the future. As far as visibility, I will be around. I would be open to talk to anybody. I'll get back to anybody that asks me anything. But again, the goal should be to over-communicate, to make the website, fill it up with information. You know, if you don't want to read it, fine, but if you do, it's there, and just to educate the taxpayer more. Thank you.
Okay. Margaret?
Okay. Increasing the communication between the community and the Board of Education. I believe that the media, as well as published information to the community, needs to be increased. They need to know the issues, as David had recommended, as well as where we stand. In addition, we should find out their feedback on the issues. They may have some very good ideas that maybe the board has not thought of. And I think that that's a huge opportunity for us as a board, learning what the community concerns are and how maybe we can help and resolve them. The other issue is increase of visibility. Not everybody has a computer, so it's great to really pump up our website, but I think that we should have free publications of what the board is doing monthly and what the issues are at the libraries, any of the facilities that will allow us, just like the West Seneca Bee. You know, they put them out there, you grab one, or the healthy issues, and you provide that information to our taxpayers, to our constituents, to let them know and understand what we're facing and how we're going to resolve them. And if they have any suggestions, they're very welcome, and we are very open to their opinions. Thank you.
And Mary.
I'm glad this question came out. I just met with Mr. Bystruck the other day, and through my involvement with Erie County Schools, we have at our delegates, at the end of every delegate meeting, we go around each district and report on things that are going on. And a lot of our districts are having open forum meetings. So Mr. Bystruck and I talked about it, and he is coming up with a plan that we will have open forum meetings. We're hoping to get at least 4 a year where the public can come and the board will be sitting there, but we can have open communications. Because at our board meetings, it's very difficult because we're bounded under this, the meeting laws, which stipulates that it's a meeting in public, not a public meeting. So if we can have these public forums, and Mr. Bystruck gets these together, that way the public can communicate their concerns and their questions. And I think that's a great way to communicate. I know our PR, we're doing as much as we can with PR, the West Seneca Bee and the Penny Saver and everything. We have information in there all the time and people can read that. So, you know, any suggestions, I agree, would be wonderful to see how we could be more transparent and communicate more with the educational community. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, David, we'll start with you next. The American Academy of Pediatrics has made recommendations as to the amount of time children and teens should engage in screen time. Studies have shown that excessive media use can lead to attention problems, school difficulties, sleep and eating disorders, and obesity. Studies have also shown that writing by hand strengthens the learning process while typing can impair it. Yet technology is being used more and more within the school system for taking tests, doing research, and completing assignments. As a member of the school board, how would you work to balance the benefits of technology with its costs?
Well, technology is here. You can't stop it. The students are at the point where they're on it while they're in school and they're on it when they're home. I don't. It's a good way to keep them involved, to keep them involved in the lessons. I don't. That's all I got.
Okay, thank you. Margaret.
Okay, thank you for that question. And I certainly do believe in technology. I do believe that there is a limit to putting a time limit on your children using their phones. I do believe in the statistics that it does impede their necks, looking down, their attentiveness to what they are doing, and lack of focus. So in my household, we limit that because I am a believer that all electronics are turned off. Once you hit your homework, you hit it, and you hit it with what you've got, you focus. In terms of the school, I believe technology is great. You're going to have to know technological expertise when you get into the workforce. There's no doubt about it. technology is everywhere, but it's just using it the right and the proper way. And I think, and I'm a proponent of upgrading our facilities and our infrastructure within the school system to keep up with the trends that are coming up that workers do require of their employers. That is my answer. Thank you.
Thank you. Mary?
Okay, thank you for that question. It is actually a very good question. I also agree that too much technology, they don't have face-to-face conversations. Everything's done on phone. There has been proven studies. You'll even see it, I've talked to teachers where kids don't give eye contact anymore because they're so used to doing everything on their phones or their iPads. But unfortunately, in school, educationally, they are an asset, okay? They can do research on them. They can look, there's testing that are going to be in the future, near future, will be done on it. And West Seneca we do have new technology going in. We got bonds for E-rate and smart school money, so all our wiring will be updated, our computer systems will be updated, our students' devices will be updated. I do believe, though, at home, and I have to do this with my grandchildren because as soon as they walk in, Grandma, I want your iPad. So Grandma says, oh, iPad's battery's not working or whatever, and I have to hide them because they will sit on that. And I'd rather have them outside when the weather's nice or in the garage riding their little tricycles around and acting, well, let's put it this way, playing with their cousins, okay, or their siblings, okay? So I do believe we have to balance it. Thank you.
Thank you. And Larry?
Okay, I guess we're all in the stage of the YouTube family. What happens with technology? Technology is great for looking for a direction, an area, looking up a word, but becoming too involved with technology, I believe in the human interaction. I'm a firm believer that I do not allow my kids to go, yeah, they say yes. They look at you when they talk with you. Now, the challenges, we all have our lives. We're all cooking dinner. We're all doing wash. So I did research, and I purchased the Disney Circle app for my daughter's phones. I control their Wi-Fi. I control their 4G. I set their MySpace, all their Facebook, everything that they have, their Musical.ly. I put it on a 25-minute time limit. And it shuts off at 8 o'clock every night in the house. And at 8 o'clock, you could hear the girls go, ah. I walk back 10 minutes later, and there they are reading Harry Potter. I say I'm winning. They picked up a book. So it's definitely something that we're going to have to look and address. But I'm going to tell you this. It's almost like with sugar. You only want to give them a little bit. You give them too much. That technology just doesn't, it's not that human interaction. Thank you.
Thank you. Hey, Margaret, we'll start with you this time. Pardon me. If you are elected to the Board of Education, 2 years from now, your term will be coming to an end. Can you please share with us what you would have hoped to accomplish? I'm sorry, 3 years? 3 years. What would you like to accomplish during that 3-year period?
Okay, thank you. Well, I have my platform here in front of me, and my first and foremost important and most passionate thing to my heart is the children. Making sure that all children get a fair and appropriate public education, that they are all different learners. Some are tactical learners, some are auditory learners, some are even just visionary learners. And you really need to educate the child in a way that they learn so that they can become successful. There are a lot of stakeholders in their education. Not only the parent, the child has to be engaged, fully engaged. The parent has to play a role. The administrators have to play a role. The teachers play a role. The community plays a role. And so does the Board of Education. That is what I would like to see happen within my years on the board, I'd also most passionately like to expunge the myth that a one-size-fits-all education is appropriate. It is not. People learn differently, and we have to understand that. And we have to give them the education that they need in order to succeed, in order to gain employment once they complete high school, in order to complete high school. You know, if you see, you need to have savvy adults in their lives in order to look and say, hey, my child is not doing so good in this. I wonder why they're faltering. Or a savvy teacher. I've had savvy teachers call me and say, you know, hey, not so good, doing good in this. Let's work together and see what the issue is, and let's partner. And I work at home with my child, and they work with the school, you know. So I think that's very important. I think the finances need to be under control. I think we need to get out there in Albany, and I think we need to...
Time's expired. Thank you.
We need to get more money.
Mary, same question.
Okay.
Well, like I stated in the beginning, I'm a very strong advocate for our vocational trainings, our P-TECH program, which I'm very excited about, that we are starting this year for our 9th graders next year for mechanical and body work. Our students that participate in that program, we get 10 a year for the next 5 years. They will walk out of high school, well, actually, with an associate's degree. It's a 5 to 6 year program. Doesn't cost the parents anything, doesn't cost the student anything, and they will be almost 100% guaranteed jobs with our local auto dealerships. Average between $35,000 to $45,000 a year. They will have an associate's degree and learn everything in both those fields. I also would like to expand our academies. I'm hoping in the year 2020 that we can open up the hotel and restaurant and hospitality academy. I support our music and arts, and will continue to do that. And I would like to expand, which we are doing, our electives. Now that we do have some more money, we can start adding electives back for our students so they have less study halls. And I know that is a passion for the whole Board of Education. Thank you.
Thank you. And Larry.
Okay, thank you. I think like anything, 3 years on the board, I do agree with you, Mary. I would like to have some programs that would involve people from getting corporations involved, National Grid, NIMO, trying to get some auto dealerships to offer programs for the students that are not going to be lawyers and doctors. I think hands-on, which is back to human contact, that would be one of my big things that I would like to be able to do. Another thing is I'd like to have a fully funded breakfast and lunch program, because if it's for our kids, I think that's something that we need. There's districts out there right now that do not pay a penny. They have, every student gets a breakfast and every student gets a lunch. No form filled out, nothing. They'd be able to, if you find out and you do the grants, it can be done. And I've also would like to be able to walk away and say there's at least a 10-year district plan. Plans do change, but at least there's something in play. Thank you.
And same question, David.
Thank you. I think the first thing I would like to see is a commitment to raising the graduation rates each year, to really sit down and look at what we need to accomplish that. Another thing is the vision that we need. We need many more opportunities for vocational training. Right now, I'm told that we send 50 students to BOCES for vocational training. What do you tell the 51st student and their parents? They can't go. When I was in school, a long time ago, you had to have a high school education. They beat that into your head that you had to graduate from high school to get a good job. It's evolved to you have to go to college to get a good job. It's not the case. We're going to lose so many of the technical jobs shortly. Everybody's retiring. You're going to wait months to get a plumber. There's a lot of good jobs sitting out there. We got to direct the people to it, the students to it. I also would like to, again, more communications with the taxpayers. Let them know where their money is being spent, why it's being spent. We do spend a lot in taxes. They deserve to know what is going on with the money. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Mary, back to you. Do you support a parent's right to refuse the New York State assessments in grades 3 through 8?
Yes, I do. I have supported it from the beginning.
Larry?
Yes, every parent has the right.
David?
The question again?
Do you support a parent's right to refuse the New York State assessments for grades 3 through 8?
Yes. Yes, I do.
And Margaret?
Yes, I do. I do support that, but I do let my children take them. And the reason I let them take them is not for any other reason other than to prepare them for what a state exam will look like when they reach the high school. They're going to be taking Regents exams. They're going to be timed, and I'd like them to get familiar with how things are proctored, and no matter what they do on the test is okay by me. I just want them to learn the ropes and do well. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Larry, we'll start with you. Have you been endorsed by any of the bargaining units or unions within the district, and who?
I'll give you the same answer as last year. My wife and 2 children have endorsed me.
Thank you. David?
I have not been endorsed. The only endorsement I'm looking for is the voter on May 15th.
Margaret?
Yes, and I have not been endorsed by anyone. I have no alignment with anyone. I'm an independent individual mother who is a very concerned mother running for the children and the best interests of the children. Thank you.
Thank you. And Mary?
Yes, I'm endorsed by the Teachers Association.
Okay, thank you. Okay, David, have you attended Board of Education meetings? And how do you feel about open discussion during board meetings, including the hearing of visitors section?
Yes, I've attended meetings. I was dumbfounded the meeting that I attended where they told the public, you can ask your question, but we're not going to answer. We'll get back to you. I think that's crazy. All the power in the district sits at that table. We should be able to answer questions. If it's an in-depth question, it should be on the minutes, answered in the minutes, so people can see it. That's how I feel about that.
Thank you. Margaret?
Excuse me. I also think there should be discussion at a board meeting. It should not just be, how do you vote? I can't believe that there isn't discussions on different items that come up. Thank you.
Okay, Margaret.
Yes. To answer your first question, no, I have not attended a board meeting. Again, as I've told you, I was raising my children and haven't had the time to invest into attending a board meeting. But I will tell you that I have a lot of experience in running meetings and in leadership programs. And I'm being very honest with you. I have a lot of skill sets to bring to the table. I'm a very well-educated woman, and I'm proud to be who I am. And I think I can add a lot of new ideas and a new perspective to a lot of the vision that and carry the board forward. In terms of open discussion, I am very comfortable with having an open discussion. I feel everyone should have a voice in what we do with our children. I believe that an open discussion is great, and I think it should be promoted.
Thank you. Mary?
Yes, I've been going to board meetings since 1990, so it's dating myself a little here. The meeting, as I stated before, it's a meeting in public, not a public meeting. We do have where the public can come up and ask questions. Most of the time, once in a great while, we can answer it because it's something that's happening at the meeting. But we are, our administrators or the board president will normally get back to the person within 24 hours of their question. And unfortunately, that's the way the rules are. We have to follow them. But as I stated before, I talked to Mr. Bystrecht, and we are trying to set up those public forums, and that way that will be an open discussion. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And Larry?
I can remember when I missed a meeting, it was the day they handed out cake.
We do that a lot, you know.
No, when Matt was appointed, I was away in Chicago, but I did get the minutes and I did get the agenda, and I follow. I attend the meetings regularly. I do not stand on the soapbox at the microphone. I want to be a part of the solution. I did notice this year that there was more dialogue and openness. I think we spent close to an hour just kicking around ideas and having things being said and brought up, which I thought was very different previously, before that was done. So I think that as anybody who could make things move in the right direction, once again, a good idea is a good idea. You say you've made good strides in that. As for the public questions, I would say 9 out of the 10 public questions that I see there, the board answers them. That's it. Thank you.
Okay, Margaret, we'll start this question with you. What do you feel is lacking in the West Seneca School District, and how would you work to improve it? What do you feel is working very well, and what would you do to preserve it?
Could you repeat the second part of the question? What is lacking in the district? And then, I'm sorry.
The second part is, what do you feel is working well, and how would you preserve that?
Okay. Well, what I feel is lacking in the school district, I think that we as a district are responsible for the finances, and I think we need to do a great job, as the current board has done, going to advocate to Albany to get more finances imploded into our school system. I also have a thought that there are a lot of alumni who have graduated from these schools who are very prominent people in the society that we live in, and they haven't gone far. And I think, you know, being of high stature and being very proud of a West Seneca child graduating from here, if we approach people, I'm certain that they would want to be involved in to give money to the school. I also have an idea that creating a position that allows, a full-time position that allows for research and grant money, and from the state and private organizations, should be something that we should consider to create, because there is a lot of grant money out there. It just takes a lot of time, and who has the time? You know, so I think we need to create a position for that. What works well in our district, if I may, the academies are outstanding. I think we need the vocational programs that we have are outstanding. We have to add more, though, because the workplace requires more. You know, we have to sustain our children to be employable. The other thing that works very well in our school system are the extracurricular activities and all the accolades that we have won as a school district and named the finest school district in the area. We should be very proud to live in West Seneca. And I also think the administration is very workable.
I'm sorry, time's up. Thank you. Same question, Mary.
Okay. Lacking in our district. Well, I stated it before, electives, but we are attempting to get there. Staffing in our buildings and grounds, our cleaners, we're hoping to increase that. Bus drivers, hoping to increase that. our BOCES programs. My goal 2 years ago was to increase our numbers. I know, Mr. Kims, you mentioned around 50. I think we're up to 56 to 58 students going to the BOCES programs. My goal is to increase that again for more students, to go. BOCES has a lot of things we can offer that West Seneca doesn't. We have our 5 academies, but BOCES has animal science, they have auto tech, which I mentioned before, aviation, baking, barber, culinary, cyberspace. They have digital media, which we offer that. They have zoology, which is very interesting, welding, a lot of vocational plumbing, heating, etc. So those are things that we are lacking in, and I think we need to increase that. What we're doing well, I think I'm very proud, and I'm sure our district is, of our arts, our music, our musicals. I truly support them. We are in the process of getting our bond together so we can fix our facilities and our grounds. Thank you.
Same question, Larry.
Okay, thank you. What are we lacking? Once again, Mary, you touched on the same things. We're lacking electives, and I keep going back to it. People with hands-on skills. I'd like to see some more life-ready skills classes. I'd like to see maybe some driver's ed for juniors and seniors. Different views, different ideas for things that go on for some kids to take the stress off parents. I think it's something that could be done easily and accomplished fairly cheap, to be honest with you. If you get dealerships involved to donate some cars and write some things, I think you could have some driver's ed here. I look at different things, the things that is working well. I will give it out again. I think the emails are coming out when issues are happening. I think the parents' involvement is very well in this district. I also see the great things with the music and the arts, and I see teachers that care. And I definitely think that the things that are working well are the community and the things that are working to make it better. That's it.
Okay, and David, same question.
Yes, I agree with what Larry said. We do need more electives. We've had some cutbacks due to the funding from the state, but we do need more electives. The other thing we need, and I know I keep repeating myself, but it is more vocational opportunities. And that goes in, that'll tie into my other thing, is communication. On this past Thursday, I sent an email to the superintendent asking how many people do we send to BOCES, and what is the cost that we give BOCES for each student that we send? I'm still waiting for an answer. I have heard nothing back. That was not a complicated question to ask. The communication has to get better. Thank you. Oh, the good thing that the district does, I think the district does a good job in hiring the people that they do. They hire good people that want to do a good job, and they do a good job, the vast majority of them. I'd like to see them keep doing that. They're doing a good job with that.
Okay, thank you. Mary, we'll start with you this time. As a Board of Education member, you will have the responsibility to write and implement new policy within the district. Are there specific areas of current district policy that you would like to revise? And do you have any ideas for new policies?
Actually, West Seneca, along with most of the school districts, we do our policies through BOCES. BOCES have legal and dedicated staff that's all they do is update because of either court or just moving and updating policies. Yes, the board does go through policies. In fact, most of our board meetings, we review policies. We've got one, I think, now tabled, but we just approved probably 5 or 6 of them last board meeting. We have a policy committee in West Seneca who review with the superintendent and the directors each policy. So when BOCES drafts up a policy, it's a blanket policy, a generic, everything legally by the law. And then it gets sent to the districts, and the districts then send it to the department heads that they affect, and they go through the policy and adapt it to West Seneca's needs. So I think we should currently stay with BOCES. They've been doing an excellent job since I've been involved, since 1990. And that's it.
Okay, thank you. Larry?
Any revised policies, I think, come when situations happen. It's always the Monday night quarterback after a policy that somebody finds out it's not working. Part of what is not working is because sometimes we don't know. And it is very hard to understand a policy if you don't have access to them all the time. So my feeling is if we have somebody by the law that is drafting a blanket and the board can put in their innuendos and it is then protected by an outside source, that's the way you need to protect yourself as a district and as a school. That's it.
Thank you. David?
Well, without being on the board, it's hard to know how their policies were developed or are developed. I think the board needs to be involved in them all. And like Larry said, most of them, the revisions would come when something isn't working well that you have to look at. That's all I have on that.
Thank you. And Margaret?
Yes, and I have to agree with David. I'm a newcomer, and I'm not in particularly, I haven't written policies, but I would like to see the policies and how they are derived by the Board of Education and by the BOCES. I've had working relationships with BOCES, and I think they are outstanding. I would like to see, I guess policy comes too late when there's a problem. I think we should try to head it up before there's a problem and then try to anticipate any type of issue that may come up in order to create a policy to prevent it. Because once once there's an issue that arises, you have to deal with the issue, and then it escalates, and then you have to create a policy for it. So, and how many people have access to that policy? I don't think that most do. So that should be something that should be given to the public. I'm not certain if it is or not. I haven't received anything, so I don't know if it is or not, but it's something that should be given to the public and readdressed. If there's an issue, I try to look it up on the website, and that's my source, or start reaching out to different departments within the school district to figure out, hey, who do I call and what do I do? So that's my take on that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Last question that the DPC has comprised. We'll start with Larry. As a member of the Board of Education, how will you balance the need for private conversations in executive session with keeping your constituents informed?
Well, I think as anybody would hopefully know that what is said as an executive session, you can't even basically tell your family members. It is private. Every individual who would be put in that situation would not want that to be displayed out in public. It's a confidentiality thing, and I definitely understand the frustration sometimes that we want answers and we can't get them, but there's other people involved and we don't know the whole sides of the stories. And the second part of it was?
Just how do you balance privacy in executive session with keeping constituents informed?
I think if you voice how it is and what you're trying to relay to them, how you can't, I think that would explain to people and give them at least an understanding of saying, you just can't do it, and walk away. So I think if you spend some time with some people, put them in the other person's shoes, I think that they would understand a little bit more. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. David?
Yes, there's really a limited number of things you can go into executive session for. But once again, once you discuss it in executive session, it's private. The only way it's not is if you take a vote, then it has to be made public if you take a vote in executive session. But if you limit the number of times that you take items into executive session and make sure they're the right things that you take in, I think the problem would be a lot less. What was the second part?
How to balance the need for executive session versus keeping constituents informed.
Well, again, go in for the right reasons. Make it as infrequent as possible. And I think that's all.
Okay. Margaret?
Okay, thank you. I do believe that, and I do totally respect the confidentiality of private executive meetings. I believe what is private and should stay private unless otherwise decided upon that it should become public. Now, in terms of trying to, your second part was, if I understood it correctly, is how do you balance it with the public? I'm not quite certain what you're saying.
I'll read it again. Balance the need for private conversations in executive session with keeping constituents informed.
Well, I think the way to keep constituents informed is really to increase our policies. I mean, head off problems before they begin, as David said. If you don't have a lot of problems, you won't have a lot of executive private meetings. That's where I think, you really should try and increase your problems, is by not having as many. And, keeping the public informed, it's private. I mean, if they ask you about it, I think that you have to be honorable to your position and not really speak of it. That's my take. Thank you.
Thank you. And Mary?
Okay, confidentiality. That is, you have no choice. If you're in executive session and you go in legally for the purpose of executive, you cannot breach that. It is legally you cannot do it, and you can be removed by the Commissioner of Education from the board, as well as if you breach information that could be against a particular person or student, you can legally be responsible for that. How to balance? I think your honesty with people, you explain to them, I'm sorry, legally I cannot disclose what we discussed in executive session, and I think people will understand that. But you can only go into executive session for particular reasons, which is contract, personnel, any meetings with your lawyers, that's all legal. So, thank you.
Thank you. We have 3 questions that came in on index cards from audience members. David, we'll start with you. If elected, what is your single most important role as a Board of Education trustee?
I think the most important role is to make sure every tax dollar is spent wisely. There's no reason in the world we can't have a great education for the kids but still remain fiscally responsible. We should be having groups of parents and taxpayers to look at the budget, to take each line item and look at it. The time to complain about the budget is not when it's presented. It's too late by then. It's way too late once the election comes on May 15th. It's not, you can't do every line item every year, but you can start with the big items, start looking at them, start looking at little items, everything. Tear it down, make sure we're getting the most. The town is upset about the town's budget, and that's only $50-some thousand. I mean, $50 million. Our budget's $120 million. We can find money in there, money to devote to more vocational training, money to devote to more electives. We don't have to just keep going to the taxpayer, turn them upside down, and shaking the money out of their pockets. We can make sure we do it the right way.
Same question, Margaret.
Okay. If elected, my primary role, I have multiple, actually. My first role is to keep the school solvent. We need finances, and we need to encourage and create a position that will find grants. There are a lot out there, a lot of other schools are doing them, and private organizations to commit to our school district. We have a great school district, and they know it, and we should promote it. I mean, we should be proud. Another thing that I advocate for is for the money. Let's see, advocating for money enters to our budget. I've already spoken of that. I'm also concerned about getting rid of the Common Core. I think it is something that we really, I find very unnecessary in terms of how to educate our kids. I find that they make it very, very difficult. And the testing is just purely testing kids just to test. And they really don't account for anything. My biggest and most thing that I advocate are for the children. I am passionately for the children. I want all children to succeed. I want to be your voice for all your children. I've been an advocate for my children, and I want to be an advocate for yours. So the children should be our number one, because you know what? We're all here for the children. We're not here for ourselves. We've already received our education. Thank you.
Mary?
Okay, I believe that we should give all our staff, our students, all the support and tools they need to be successful. I believe we should have a safe learning environment. I think that, let me see, what was your question? Could you?
What is your single most important role as a Board of Education trustee?
To support our students and our staff, to give them all the opportunities, learning opportunities, and tools for learning opportunities, and to keep them in a safe environment. Thank you.
And Larry?
The most important role, I believe, would be equality amongst all of our schools. I think it's very hard when you have a district this size, and I think being able to get the schools together a little bit more often, building to building, to talk about what's working with them, what's not working with them. I think that's what things that I'm looking at is supporting the tools and giving the teachers the lead. That's the most important thing, I feel. It's not the board's job, really, to go in and keep contradicting and doing everything different. It's to guide them in the right way, I feel. And I want to be able to allow our kids to be safe and to have a wonderful place to go to school.
Okay, Margaret, we'll start the next question with you. Where do you stand on redistricting? Where do you stand on consolidation?
I'm just writing it down, if you don't mind. Give me a second.
Redistricting and consolidation.
Consolidation. Well, this is a deeper issue than most would think. I know it's been entertained on the board for a long time, and for many years. It's a hot topic. It's a passionate topic. People are very passionate about this. Redistricting and consolidation. We really have to look at the population within our school district and determine each year how many children we have coming to the school, and then ask ourselves, what in the town of West Seneca can we do to help promote families coming to live in West Seneca, to give their children a good education? We have to promote West Seneca to bring new children into the school in order to expand our capacities. In addition to, we have an elderly population within the West Seneca School District, and I understand their concerns, but we all play a future in the children's roles, and everybody has to share in that stakeholder. They have to be a stakeholder in that. So I believe that redistricting and consolidation needs to be taken a deeper look at, and I don't think that I'm a proponent of it unless, you know, we become very insolvent and we can't get out of debt and we have no school, then it's an issue. Then I think we really have to, you know, play the hard knocks there. So, thank you.
Okay, Mary.
The big R word. That is like one of the hottest subjects around. Redistricting. I was actually on the board when we redistricted back in the early 90s, and that's when we separated. Allendale used to split. Half their students would, depending on where they lived, would go to the east side and half would go to the west side. So back then, the board made the decision to put 4 feeder elementary schools in West Senior and 3 in East Senior. So it was Allendale, West L, Potter, and Winchester went to West Side, and East, Northwood, and Clinton went to the East Side. Right now, our population is leveling out. We did lose quite a few students. We were declining like every district around here is, but right now we're leveling. Would it be an easy say to redistrict? It would help maybe because we only have 5 through 8 on the east side and 6 through 8 in the middle schools on the west side. But being on the board when we did redistrict, and then when the 21st Century brought the proposals to the board, we had a lot of parents, a lot of students contact the board members, and they were very upset about that because they've made their friends, their clubs, their musicals, everything. So to me, it's right now, if we don't have to do it, I prefer not to do it. Consolidation, we did close 2 elementary schools, so we did consolidate students to other elementary schools. East went to Clinton, and we split Potter Road between Winchester and Allendale. So that's all I have to say on it right now. But if we have to deal with it, I will deal with it. I've done it before. Thank you.
Mary?
Well, from the way that I've talked about this from last year to this year, speaking with Brian and some other things, there has been a population explosion on the east side a little bit. Currently, we're at 6,632 students. The threshold for consolidation is around 6,300, so we're ahead of that. I think, though, having a plan in case it does happen is something that we definitely need to look at. And let's hopefully maybe it'll go to 7,000 and we build a new school. So, I mean, yeah. Well, I think if you really look at what you're trying to say, Mayor, I get it. But when we talk about one West Seneca, I think you could have one West Seneca. And if you've ever been down to other states or anywhere else, there's schools that they have, they look like campuses. I just think that it's a 10, 15-year plan. Things that look different, I just think that when we get to that bridge, we cross it. Thank you. I know.
And David?
Well, if they're moving in, they're paying taxes.
Both these items speak to the vision of the board. This isn't something that you can come up with quickly. It's something that takes a lot of time. It should be looked at years ahead of time. Make a plan. What will happen when you get to this amount of students? All I read is that the student population is decreasing. It's not increasing. So these are things that we should work on. And it is something that upsets students and parents. That's why you have to get out in front of it. You have to talk about it, what could happen if this occurs, if we get down to this many, this is what we're going to have to do. This is how much money we can save from it. It's not something that you rush into. If you let the people know that it's possible that this may happen, if you take their input on it, which would be very important, you can make that work. Yes, it's going to upset people, but you got to do what's right. But you got to do what's right ahead of time and let everybody know what's going on.
Okay, last question that was written in. Mary, we'll start with you. What is your opinion on the Common Core and current New York State testing in grades 3 through 8?
It was stated before, one test doesn't fit all students. I am not a strong component of the Common Core testing. I think we test students. I would prefer to go back to the way we used to do it and have a regional test where what our students are learning, I think that's the way I believe testing should be done. It could be done by the BOCES setting it up, whatever area we want to do it, but I do not believe in testing from the state down. I think it puts a lot of stress on students, it puts stress on staff, and families feel it. So I personally I'm against it.
Thank you. Larry?
Okay. I find them restrictive, and I find them lacking our teachers' input. But I do think New York State eventually is going to put something into play, and they could, funding-wise, I don't know. I'm thinking that there's some things that possibly that they are going to be doing in other counties. I think Mr. Como looks at West Seneca a little differently. So I just want to be ahead of the curve again to where it is, but I definitely find them restrictive, and I definitely find them, lacking and not asking our teachers for any input on the testing.
David?
I think the best education you could get is when you keep it local as much as possible. Common Core doesn't do that. We need more influence locally. Federal government needs to stay out of it. As far as the testing goes, there's nothing wrong with testing if the parents get the results of the test. They can compare it to what other students in the same grade in their schools do, compare it to other students in the state, so they can get an idea of how their student is doing. There's no sense taking tests if that doesn't happen. Thank you.
And Margaret?
Thank you. I'm not a proponent of the Common Core curriculum. I think I've already stated that. I do believe the testing is just a test. The teachers are rated on that testing, and I think it's unfair. I do believe that there needs to be a change, and the federal government, as David said, needs to stay out of what the teachers are teaching. They lose their creativity and they lose their teaching skills because they're always trying to drive toward testing. And truly, it's unfair to the child and unfair to the teacher. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions from the audience? We just ask that if you do have a question, to come up to one of the mics so that everyone can hear, the candidates can hear. The event is being recorded. That way the microphones will pick up the question.
Good evening. I'd like to thank all of you for being up there. I know what it is to be in that hot seat, so congratulations to all of you. My question is regarding the current facility bond. So what I'd like to know is what your opinion is on the current facility bond. Are you in favor of this project? Why or why not? And what do you feel is the Board of Education's role in the bond process?
Okay, Larry, why don't we start with you since we started with Mary
Okay.
last time around?
All right.
So what is your opinion on the current facilities bond? Are you in favor of this project? Why or why not? And what do you feel the Board of Education's role is in this process?
Okay, thank you. The current bond that's out there right now, I thought was explained at the last board meeting. It seems to deal a lot with, I think, some of the most important things: infrastructure, building safety. Them things, obviously, we do not want to cut any costs that involve safety and numbers. I guess it does go a little bit further into facilities for football and lacrosse and trying to make it a one-dimensional type of field that they have at other schools, districts, playing facilities. An average field, I can tell you, costs roughly about $2 million. Having two in this district, that's something that the people would have to vote on. And I think it's the Board of Education's job to provide the information and let the people vote.
Thank you. David.
I agree with what Larry's saying. You have to do the necessary maintenance on these buildings. It's just like your house. If you ignore them, the situation gets worse. You spend more money. You have to take care of what needs to be taken care of. But we have to make a determination of what is needed and what is wanted. We have to concentrate on the needed. The wanted may come another time. I was at the meeting when they talked about the bond for this, and it was explained it would be revenue neutral, because as other things get paid off, we'll use that money to pay this. Well, that's good, but still divided into wants and needs, because any extra money could either stay in a taxpayer's pocket or go towards other things that are needed more than just wanted. Thank you.
Margaret?
Yes, thank you. I do believe in the upgrade of our facilities. I think they desperately need them, and I am in favor of the project. I do believe the Board of Education does play a role in it, and the information should be retrieved really from the first responders, the CSEA union workers, the people who actually work the grounds and see what the problems are and report back to the board. And then those issues should be prioritized and addressed to see what the most critical aspects of those issues are going to hurt our children. And once evaluated, prioritized, and then we could put a budget to that to upgrade our facilities. So I am a very big proponent. Not only that, I think our children should be safe, not just our children, but every person in this building, in any building that we have in West Seneca, is really required a safe and healthy working environment, and that should be given to all. Thank you.
I have to agree with everyone up here that has stated. Health and safety definitely is a priority. It takes a long time to put a bond together. Our architects come, they have to survey everything. Priority goes to health and safety. That's automatic, okay? I can't wait till we finally get to it. It's been several years in making. I am definitely in favor of it, but I do believe, and as stated before, Mr. Kim stated it, Brian Schultz had mentioned it's not going to cost the taxpayers any more money. It's already, one bond will be paid off and we'll just start right into the next bond. But I think communication to the community is very, very important. I know we've had 2 different meetings on it, and I'm sure we'll have more. We'll probably, hopefully, if we do have those public forums, that could be one of the public forums to show everyone in the community what the health and safety issues are, as well as fixing our fields, because that is a health and safety issue. We'll determine if it's 2 fields, 1 field, but that'll be with hopefully a lot of input from the community. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions from the audience?
Hello. We have touched a little bit tonight on graduation rates. So my question is, if elected, what can you do, along with the other members of the Board of Education, immediately to start improving graduation rates? And please be specific.
David, we'll start with you.
Well, I'm not an educator. Wasn't trained to be an educator. I don't know what it would take. I'll be honest with you. But we have a superintendent, and we have administrators, and we have 6 other people would be on the board to get the ideas. I agree graduation rates have to keep improving, but I don't know the specifics, but I don't think it's impossible to find out what they would have to be, let everybody know, and show everybody we're working towards them. Don't just wait for the result to come out, but show everybody along the line that we're working towards those goals.
Thank you. Margaret.
Thank you. I believe there has to be advocacy. Advocacy from the child, advocacy from the parents, as well as the teachers. And I've really kind of repeated and repeated and repeated. I am a proponent of the children and receiving a very good education. And if our declining graduation rate is that bad, then that means we're not doing something right. So I really believe that the children, we have all kinds of learners, as I've mentioned over and over again, and I really do believe that they need to be taught the way that they learn. And I think you will find your graduation rate, our graduation rate, increase. And they will be prepared for a higher education and for the workforce and for vocational trade schools that the workforce is looking for. That's what I have to say about that. I just believe in teaching a child the way that they should be taught. Thank you.
Mary.
The whole board is very concerned about the graduation rates. I know our superintendent, our staff, our directors are all closely watching and making all the adjustments they can to move forward in increasing rates. But some of our students, to explain it, some of our students take 5 years to graduate. Depends if it's a Regents exam or something that they have to retake, or a course that they have to retake over the summer. So those numbers get skewed a little bit because they don't add in once the number comes out. They have to add in once the student graduates or gets the credits to graduate with them. So I would say a couple points here or there, it does move once those 5-year, as we call them 5-year students, complete their courses for graduation, okay? But it definitely is a concern for the board and our staff and superintendent. Thank you.
And Larry.
Well, somewhere along the line, we're losing the kids, and that's concerning. Somewhere along the line, they're becoming disinterested, and I believe it's affecting the high school level more, that they get bored and they want to get out. And I think what we need to do is put something together to keep them there. They're not dropping out in 4th grade. They're not dropping out in 7th grade. It's that 11th and 12th graders that, that are struggling. But I believe it started somewhere earlier, and it just progressed, and it got to a point where they said enough's enough. So I think if we could kind of get maybe some committees and teachers together with groups, they can identify the children that need the help. They're there with them every day. It's not hard. We call them team leaders. And you can assign people that overshadow 6 to 8 to 9 kids. You know the 6 to 8 to 9 kids that are doing well. You know the ones that are coming from a broken home that need that extra help. That's what's causing to get worse when it gets along. Right now they're getting that guidance, but as they get older, it's not there as much. So it really needs to be focused, I believe, a lot more at the high school level to keep them more involved. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Hi. I'd like to know what each of the candidates up here think about the 80-minute classes as opposed to the 45-minute or 60-minute class schedule, I guess, because they're pretty, depends what you have, but there's a lot of kids stuck in study halls for 80 minutes, one after another, like I was probably around sophomore year. So I'm just wondering what everybody thinks about maybe finding out a way to maybe shrink the class time if you're against it, and if you're for it, why?
Thank you. Margaret, we'll start with you.
Thank you, Matt. My children have expressed the same concern. They have definite, the 80-minute classes are rather cumbersome, especially if you don't have anything to do in them, if they're study halls, and it's really kind of, you can do your homework and get it done within a half hour, and the rest of the time you could read or do whatever, but you know what, it really has to be something that has to be across the boards. You can't just cut them down just because seniors can get out early. You know what I mean? Right. Because it's not fair to the sophomores or the freshmen or the juniors who have a full class load. So if you can get an early D, I would do it. You know what I mean? Because you've got other things, you've got college on your mind and that sort of thing. So I don't know that may be it's something to look at. It's something that can be utilized in terms of study hall and doing your homework and getting extra help from teachers. If the teacher is privy to your questions that you're asking, like if there's a science teacher in there and you need help in math, well, they could help you a little bit, but I don't know if you can get a ticket to go to, a pass to go to the math teacher to help. They might be, working on their own class themselves. So I don't think that we could really change the format, because I believe it has to be standard across the board, because the other children would be losing out. That's my opinion. But I do understand your pain.
Time's up, Margaret. Thank you. Mary.
Hi, Matt, you're talking about the block scheduling, correct? Okay, that's what I thought you were talking about. Well, there is a lot of students that have double study halls, and that is a long period of time, and I agree. So I think that's why the board has been pushing very hard to move towards more electives so that students have more opportunities to take these electives. We do have a district committee that looked into the block scheduling, and they have reported at the board meetings. So they're continually looking at those opportunities and reasons, but it's a great conversation to have. And I think if we do have that conversation, it'd be great. And I'm sure the committee has met with the students to get input from the students and see what they think. But just keep it communicating. I guess that's what I would suggest. And it doesn't fit for all students. Some students do have full schedules and some don't, unfortunately. But I hope if the district can increase opportunities and electives, that will lessen that. Okay, thanks.
Thank you. Larry, same question.
Okay, the block scheduling, it is what it is right now. From what I was told, I heard at one of the meetings was there was some busing issues and things like that. We're changing the time frames. So this is much more than just changing the time parameter in the classroom. I think it's definitely something that, the younger kids probably don't even realize 80 minutes or whatever it is for them compared to a senior. As you get older, you do think that you know it and you're going to do it quicker, and the time becomes longer where you sit there. I think the electives is the key to keep them busy, keeping them there, even as much as, doing volunteer work, creating things that could be different for the kids to get out of the school, but still doing something maybe indirectly in their community. But it is a long time for back-to-back study halls. So I guess there should be no reason why my daughters should never come home with homework. Thank you.
And David.
I came across the block scheduling by accident. I had, through the Freedom of Information law, requested all the contracts for the district. And in reading through them, when I was in a teacher's contract, I read about block scheduling. So not having anyone in school, I went to the internet like anybody else to see what they were talking about. When I found out that they were 80 minutes long, I couldn't believe it. I think back to when I was in school. There is no way you could have kept my attention for 80 minutes in a class. You would have been waking me up a couple times every day. Most of the information on the internet is against block scheduling. I don't know exactly when it started. When we were in school, it was either 7 or 8 periods a day. You went for 45 or 50 minutes, and that wasn't bad. You got up, you moved around after the end of class and changed classes. I think we could do a lot better. Would have to look at it, but again, you need everybody involved in it before you make an opinion on it and before you decide.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, then at this time, Mary, why don't you start with your closing statement, please?
Actually, I really don't have much of a closing because the day you called me, I had 2 grandchildren. I think they were crying at the time you called. So I apologize for that. But all I'm asking is I've dedicated 21 years to education, volunteering, and I'm very passionate about it. I don't know if anyone realizes this, and if I can hold back the tears, my mom was on the school board for 10 years. In the 70s and 80s, and she passed away suddenly in 1988, and 2 years later I decided to run for the Board of Education to finish her legacy and her passion for education. She was, my mother always believed in you give back to the community that has given you so much, and her passion became my passion, and I have been on the board for 21 years. I love every minute of it. When you see students becoming so successful and walking across that stage and how proud they are and how proud their parents and grandparents are, it's just very, very touching. So I'm asking for your support on May 15th, and I will do the best I can as a board member and what I have done for the last 21 years. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Larry.
I also will ask you for one of your votes, of 2 votes, on May 15th. My closing statement really pertains to keeping and growing this community. Getting people involved, bringing our students, faculty, and board member as one. This district has had great success this year, and you saw the pride in this district, football, cheerleading, all the way through, from the band to everybody. I think once you set a trend and you begin to move forward, you leave this stuff behind. At some point, you need to start moving forward, and I'm looking for an opportunity to represent this community with a new idea, bringing my skill sets, and bringing what's the most important thing to the table is the children. Thank you.
Thank you. David, your closing statement, please.
I would like to thank all of you for attending tonight. I'm not a guy of a lot of words, but two words I kept coming back to tonight were communication and involvement. If we stress both of those, we can turn things better for the district. We can improve things. I look forward to representing you on the school board. When elected, I promise to be available to questions and comments from anyone or any group, and I also promise I will get back to you. In order for me to do this, I am asking for one of your 2 votes. Thank you again.
Thank you. And Margaret.
Thank you. I would like to thank the District Parent Council for hosting this evening tonight. Thank you very much. I would like to remind you that I'm an advocate for the children. No child should slip through the cracks and be left behind. I do believe that the Board of Education, the administrators, teachers, and union workers are doing the very best that they can do with what they were handed. So kudos to you. I do believe children and parents need a voice on the Board of Education. I want to be your voice. I am an open door policy. I have an open door policy, and I am very approachable. I will consider all ideas and bring it back to the board and try to get resolution for you. Even if you have your own resolution, we'll write it down. I always carry a paper and pen in my purse. I always have for reasons such as those. I strongly support public education, and I believe in doing the right thing even if it's not the popular vote. I believe in providing an environment that no child is left behind. I am also, I feel it is our responsibility as parents, teachers, administrators, school board, and the community at large that this does not happen, that kids fall through the cracks. We need to ensure that we are honorable enough to stand by our district mission statement. We are all accountable for the education and the success of our children because they deserve that and they can attain that. I promote updating our school facilities and our infrastructures. I promote increasing electives and increasing opportunities for vocational training and preparing our kids for life and for gainful employment. I promote increased safety for all individuals within the school system. And we must have a long-term plan and a vision for change in order to compete with an ever-changing world.
Margaret, I'm sorry, time's expired.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, at this time, District Parent Council would like to thank everyone in attendance tonight. We hope that you take away valuable information that will help you make an informed decision when you head out to the polls and vote on Tuesday, May 15th. Please spread the word to friends and family members of the West Seneca School District to get out and vote. And please remember that all West Seneca School District residents, whether they are renters or homeowners, are eligible to vote. We mentioned earlier that tonight's presentation is being recorded and it will be available on the West Seneca Schools YouTube page. Give them a couple of days to get it uploaded. The camera has not stopped rolling at all tonight. You will see the presentation in its entirety. It will not be edited at all. Thank you. Best of luck to you guys. Thank you for coming.